Bum da bum, ba ba da bum, bum ba dum, bum ba dum. It's another Doctor Who review. This week it is the story and the engine. Episode 5 of series 15, I think, or 2, or whatever. And if you don't like this story, if you don't like this story, well, you're a racist. That's it. That's all I'm saying. You're a racist. Just putting it out there. We go to. Oh yeah. The narrative. I can't remember. The narrative thing is the Vindicator thing. To triangulate the route back to Earth, because Belinda Chandra's got to get back to Earth or something. Do you remember? And so, for reasons, we're going to Lagos in Nigeria. Now again, something to do with communication technology and it being like a hub. You know, I never really thought of Lagos being a big hub for communication technology, but you know, okay, I'll let it slide. I don't know. I mean, Jodrell Bank, maybe that might be a place. They've got big antennas, but we're going to Lagos, Nigeria, because even though he says now this is canonically inaccurate, the Doctor says it's the first time he's in a black body. Wrong. Because we have the fugitive Doctor. More about that later. But also, in the Timeless Child chronology, one of the first incarnations of the Doctor was a young black girl. So you're wrong. You weren't. You're not. No. You're wrong. But anyway, the Doctor only really feels at home in a barber shop in Lagos, because he's going to meet his old mate Omo. Omo, do you get it? Omo's a washing powder, but yeah, his mate Omo. He's no homo for homo. No Omo. He likes Omo. Oh God. Thing is, right, is if the Doctor's homo with homo in Lagos, I don't think it's going to go down very well with the locals. But anyway, he goes there because it's the only place he feels comfortable. The only place he feels comfortable. Yeah. Could always go to Notting Hill Carnival, couldn't he? West London. Didn't have to go to Lagos, but it's where he's going because of racism. Okay. So we're in Lagos, and now, you know, we've got Disney money, so you think, do you know what? They're going to fly all the way to Lagos, and they're going to do some exterior shots of the hustle and bustle of Nigeria. Get a flavour, a nosegay of what it's like there. That's what you think, you know, with all that Disney money. Nah. It's probably some of the worst exterior shots you've ever seen. You know, it's a set. You know, it's a set. It's not real. And I guess the casting director had to go through. Right, we've got to get people for this thing. We've got very busy. I imagine most of the black British actors in the country were on speed dial for their agent. We've got a role for you. Oh yeah, was it an advert? Is it what? New drama? No, maybe a new Shakespeare adaptation? No, we want you to be a fake Nigerian in this Doctor Who thing. Righto. And so that's that done. And so he goes to this barber shop, and it's just the cheapest looking set. It's just so utterly cheap. And that's the setup. Now, initially, it was intriguing. It was the initial setup was intriguing, but like last week's one, which again, the more I thought about last week's episode, the more ridiculous it becomes, because I broke my own rule. You don't think about it. You don't think about it. But when you start thinking about it, it all falls apart. And I started thinking about this one as well. Now again, I can imagine Russell. Russell didn't write this one. Inua Ellams wrote it. And I imagine Russell T Davies sat there and he said, I want a black episode. I want a black episode. Do me a black episode. And of course, what you need to do is you need to smush all those black stereotypes you can. So what we need a barber shop. We're basically doing Desmond's. Who remembers Desmond's? Only people of a certain vintage from the UK. Desmond's was a delightful comedy that was on Channel 4, which really, spoke about the black experience in the UK. And it was good fun, good comedy show, launchpad for a lot of people. And so yeah, well, of course, wasn't there a film? Wasn't there a series of films called Barbershop? I'm sure there was. Wasn't that in the 90s or something? That's the American side of things. So we're going to set it in a barbershop. So that's the black experience, isn't it? And storytelling, like a good story, because they all talk in the barbershop. Again, it's like, okay, it could have been an interesting setup, and the mysterious barber has locked him in there. You go, oh, this is good, and the hair keeps growing. You think, I like this. This could be interesting. But again, the payoff is absolutely, well, confusing and just dire. It's just absolutely appalling. I liked the fellow who played the barber, Arion Bakari. Now that guy at Gravitas, I said to the kids, oh, wouldn't it be good if they reveal him to be like the new master, or like a master type variant or something, or even a Time Lord? It would have been more interesting if it had been a Time Lord. But he was the barber, whose backstory is yeah, I'm getting ahead of myself. His backstory could have been interesting. Anyway, they're in the shop. They tell stories because the stories fuel the spaceship, the ship that he's in, right? Because we've got to have a little bit more of the black experience, right? Now again, I know the story of the spider creature, the Anansi, right? Because there were stories. We did stories when I was a kid at school, because I went to an East London comprehensive where we had a very varied cultural very strata. So we had many different children from many different cultures, and we covered all manner of stories. And the Anansi stories were told. We did one of them. So we're squeezing that in because that's African, isn't it? That'll do. Yeah, okay. But it's not what you think it is. Like I said, it is so dopey, this story. It's so hard to unpack. I find he cuts the hair, gets them to tell stories which are projected on a screen to illustrate them. That's where the money's spent, for it to fuel this giant mechanical spider which travels something he's created called the Nexus, which is a web of concepts and ideas that are linked together like the internet, I guess. And you go, right, okay, it doesn't make any sense. And he's holding some guys hostage, which doesn't make sense in itself because they've got to keep telling stories. It would have made more sense if he got regular different people in and disposed of the ones who've told all their stories, could be more horrific, and get more people in, more stories, further further fuel, further movement, whatever. And the most laughable bit is when the big reveal, where the door again. This is so dumb. This is so dumb. The door to the shop is actually some sort of temporal gateway to the spider, and you think, cool. Nah. Oh no. There is actually for some reason, a structural copy of it's so ludicrous, of the barber shop on the back of the spider for reasons, right? I rolled my eyes. I said, this is up with the time that Bertie Bassett was the villain. I waggled my finger, because it would have made more sense for that doorway to appear inside the spider, where he's replicated the barber shop, but it's on the back of the spider and it's kind of cranking along. It's like, God, this is so dumb, because that's sci-fi for you, isn't it? It just doesn't make any sense. It's just stupid. It doesn't. There's no practical sense for a barbershop to be on the back of the spider. It's just not. It's just why? Why would you do that? But anyway, after much discussion, because this is one of those stories where nothing moves, everything is in four walls. It's a four-wall, we're going to talk to each other story. Very static. Again, I like the bit where they tell stories. I like the bit where their head grew back. It was funny. I thought that was really an interesting idea, but there's no explanation of why it really happens. And the barber is like kind of this malevolent figure who's using stories to power the spider to travel to the part in the nexus that he wants to get to, because the barber is he should really be called the storyteller. I'm a storyteller, and my stories must be told. Some of you may be having a Vietnam-style flashback at my beautiful rendition of that theme tune. Many of you are looking on nonplussed going, what is this idiot going on? So he's a storyteller, and it turns out that even though he's pretending to be some sort of god, he ain't a god. He is responsible for stories throughout the ages. But now I like this conceit. He didn't get full credit. Now again, if you've ever written anything, you know what it's like to have your work stolen. It's happened to me. But I didn't steal people and kidnap them and put them on the back of a giant mechanical spider. I didn't do that. No, I didn't. So yeah, he's out for revenge because some gods stole his stories and didn't give him proper credit. Not sure about the motivation, but we'll go with it, because in this universe the gods are real, because that's what Russell T Davies is. Now, in the past, when the Doctor ever come across gods, they were usually imposters. They were usually people pretending to be gods. There weren't any real gods, because the Doctor is a man of science. Not anymore. Not anymore. Gods exist. We've already seen it with Maestro and Lux and and the celestial toy maker. The gods are real, and he's got the ump. He's got the right ump, because he ain't got his stories. And what he's going to do is he's this is where it doesn't make any sense, but you go with it. He wants to drive his spider using stories, because that's fuel. Okay, to part in the nexus where the gods live, or the gods' information is stored, and he wants to cut that bit out, and that will cause the gods to cease to exist. And you go, okay, if that can be a thing, we'll go with that. But then the Doctor points out, without the gods, without the stories, humanity won't exist. I'm like, huh? But people will tell their own stories. People will carry on, because humanity is infinitely creative, and they don't necessarily need gods or stories of gods. They'll come up with it. In fact, wait a minute, the gods were created because man made the gods as stories. But don't think about it. Don't think about it. You know, don't think about it, because it's nonsense. It's gibberish. It's not science fiction. It's something else. It's some new thing that they've come up with, that if you give it any logical scrutiny, you just go, oh God, why are we doing this? So there's some back and forth, and the fugitive, I need to say renegade, fugitive doctor appears for a brief moment. Now, don't get me wrong, I like the idea of the fugitive doctor. Jo Martin, I think, is great. I think she should be the current doctor over this guy, because he ain't no good. Heck, I even think Arian Bakari should be the doctor over Ncuti Gatwa, because he can't bloody act. He really can't. He's got no gravitas to him at all. And I'm becoming quite irritated by him. But yeah, she appears for a few lines, and again, she's relating to a story. She's actually talking about a story that has happened in her timeline, which sounds a lot more interesting than the story we're in. And that keeps happening. So the doctor, for reasons, and then Belinda turns up because she has to, because, you know, Russell says, you've left Belinda out, she'd better have a wander into the barbers, and yeah, and they go, oh wait a minute, you're the nurse that the doctor told. He told a story about a nurse, and how the nurse, because the nurse is better than the doctors, because remember, woman of colour good, doctors, male doctors, they don't know what they're doing. And then Mrs. Flood appeared for some reason, for reasons, because, you know, and they go, you're her, and everyone goes, yeah. But then he does the thing with the doodad, with his Sonic, and it all goes bang, and they all run, and the other woman, who's the daughter of one of the, she's one of the Anansi's daughters, who's a disc. Ah, my brain. She knitted into his hair a map, because that's what they did in slavery times. And Doctor finds like a tree of knowledge, and there's a heart in it, and he links to the heart, and he can destroy it all because he's the Doctor, because why not? And the barber character, or the storyteller, or whatever, says, oh, you're not going to destroy everything. And he goes, I will. And he does, and it's all going to blow up, and they all run out, and it blows up, and the Doctor and the barber jump out, and then the barber's kind of okay, even though everything he's worked for has been destroyed. And he goes, gee, everything's just fine and dandy. And that's the story. And I just thought it was awful. I really did. I mean, it started off well. I like the initial premise, and then it just descended into absolute mindless gibberish. Now I said, because we always talk about afterwards. We do a little post-mortem. Again, the kids do not want to be a part of these videos anymore because of how laughably bad everything is. Now I said, look, if we want to talk about the black experience, if we want to talk about slavery, right? Why don't we just go in and do the bloody slavery story? Because, again, Ncuti Gatwa, because of his colour, because of who he is, we could have, again, with Disney money, we could have an epic slavery story, right? The Doctor, with his Vindicator or whatever, rocks up in Africa. Again, wrong time zone. He stumbles out, gets immediately netted, caught by black slavers, because that's how it was, sold to the white slave traders who was taking him to the New World. You see him on the boat, you see men and women sick and dying, being thrown overboard. You see the horror of the slavery, you live it, and the Doctor lives it, and he's aghast at what goes on. And we get to the New World, and maybe he can be brutalised. Who remembers Roots, eh? God, that programme gave me nightmares because of the horrific things that went on. There's a very famous scene in it where oh God, what is his name? Geordie from from Star Trek gets whipped because he won't accept his new name. You can replay that with the Doctor, and they say your new name's Dave or whatever. He goes, no, ain't, it's the Doctor, and they whip him, and it can be very brutal and very bad. And you think it's all done for him. You think it's all done for him, and then in the night, the TARDIS appears for reasons. Belinda figures out, or the TARDIS detects that he's close to death or in dire need, and the emergency protocol is initiated. Hey, why not? Everybody else does what they want with these shows, and it rescues him. And Belinda says, aren't you going to do anything? Can't you do anything about the slavery? And he goes, no, this is a fixed point in time. There's nothing we can do about it, because if I unpick slavery now, all the black people in your time will have stayed in Africa. There'll be no black people in the Caribbean. There'll be no black people in America. There'll be no black people anywhere. They'll all be in Africa. And we won't have you won't see the likes of Martin Luther King, people like that, and it will fundamentally rewrite history. And it can't be undone. And that's how it would end. And that'd be the story. If I was charged with writing a story about racism in Doctor Who, that's the story I'd write, right? Because it gives a lot to think about. Gives you a lot to think about. But we didn't get that. We got this mishmash of kind of black cultural ideas smushed into a kind of a gloopy paste, which I found utterly unsatisfying and frankly ludicrous. Because again, we've moved into this, Davis wanted this kind of fantasy era where gods exist, goblins exist, black barbershops in a fake Nigeria exist, and so we get this kind of thing. And then there will be people that say it's the best story ever. I think it's good that they tried to do it. I think there's nothing wrong with them trying to do it. It's just, the only thing it went, again, what they should have done is the barber, when he gets rumbled, he should have done that, and it was a white man all along. That's the only bit that was missing, really. But anyway, it's where this is where the message gets in the way. You know that this person who wrote this, Inua Ellams, was given a brief, and they went off and they did this story. And that's it. And again, it's very, very small, very, very small, one room story. I think they could have spent more money on it. Maybe, the barber shop, when he clicks his fingers, it turns in, it's all a hologram, and they're actually inside a spaceship or something. I think more could have been done with it. It felt, it's just incredibly clunky story writing, and a lot of the MO and a lot of the motivations of the characters. And then, like I said, at the end, he's like, even though everything's destroyed, he's fine with it, Yeah. But you do get oh God, there's a couple of irritating bits. Like they're in a room of artifacts, and you see all the doctors in the TV sets, and that you go, here you go, look, doing the fan service again, thanks. But the old thing about the Ernest Hemingway story, which is, was it baby shoes for sale? No use, or no, I can't remember it off the top of my head. But anyway, it's a short story it's the shortest story ever written, and it allows the imagination to play. You know, what happened to the why have the baby shoes not been used? You know, but the Doctor did his one, and it's I'm born, I die, I'm born, which is utterly crap compared to the Hemingway one. But you know, here we are. That irritated me. It's like, Doctor, you're no writer, are you, mate? You're no writer. Hemingway beat you there. So yeah, it was a stinker. It was one again. It was. I thought. I mean, again, last week's one. I fell in love with the idea of the old switcheroo, you know. But on further inspection, it was just appallingly bad. And in this one, I kind of had the hope for it, because I thought I was going to do something different, and I thought we was going to get more about like the Anansi myth, you know, spider god. But we didn't. You know, it turned out to be something else. And I think they could have. I really do think they could have done more with like the African culture, and it just fell short. Like I said, it's stereotypes. We're going to set it in a barber shop, and you know, so that's that. Next week it's Eurovision. Oh God, I'm sure it's going to be really, really, really good. I'm sure it's. Oh, it's a slow, painful death. And last week's episode got, was it 1.5 million viewers? I wonder how well this week's one's going to do. It looks like we're on a bit of a nosedive in terms of rating, the overnight viewerships. It's going to be interesting to see when all the views are finally counted, whenever that might be. Which one shall we do today? Should we go with the official one? I've forgotten how to use this one. Remember, always be careful where to stick your sonic screwdriver. I like this one because it's got a little light on the inside. There, look. How's this one go? I never know which way to hold it round. Is it that way round? And then it all lights up. Ta-ta. Be careful where you stick your sonic screwdriver. Yeah, ta-ta. It's all lit up that way. It's much better. Look, you're missing that. Let me turn the lights off. Because then it'll be even more impressive. Yeah. Look, watch this. Look. Ooh.